Good afternoon. My name is Steve Hernandez, and I am the Executive Director of the Legislature's Nonpartisan Commission on Women, Children, Seniors, Equity, and Opportunity. We are so excited here today to continue our Small Business Matters Roundtable series with a stop along our series that I'm calling Trailblazing Businesses. In honor of Women's History Month, what we are doing is we are focusing on 3 businesses that are really blazing trails in 3 key areas of interest for the people of the state of Connecticut. Just a little bit of background on our series. The series started right about the beginning of pandemic. And what we saw is that so many of our businesses weren't just quietly shutting down. In fact, what they were doing is that they were quietly pivoting and creating new opportunities and new ways in which to serve the people of the state of Connecticut and to build resources for themselves and for the people of the state. What's really exciting is that what we have before us today is 3 small businesses that are really innovating in the space, in addition to growing opportunities for people right here at home. The very first one of our guests, what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to have each of you introduce yourselves through the magic of Zoom. When you speak, you come forward. So I'm going to allow you to just come forward and say a few things about yourself, who you are, what your business is, what industry it fits into, and a little bit about what motivated you to enter the space. Let's start. I'm going to call you in the order in which I see you so I don't lose you. So let's start with Ira. Hi, Ira. How you doing?
Hi, Steve. Great to be here. Thank you for inviting me. So I personally seek to inspire and be inspired by the incredible community of creators and entrepreneurs who are curious about Web3. And my purpose for creating my company, Black Tech Futures Media, is to promote widespread adoption of blockchain technology. And so we began as a concept back in 2020. We realized that we could potentially become a solution for brands who wanted to communicate to their fans and to their clients how to use various digital media services. And this was as a result of a confluence of things that occurred, primarily the pandemic in 2020. Like all other businesses, we had to think about our business model. And actually, for us, it was looking at ways to pivot and work with clients in new and different ways. We realized that during the lockdown, everyone literally became their own brand. Folks had to figure out how to communicate their message via technology, via social, via the internet. And of course, because of Zoom, we were able to communicate with one another in new and different ways. And so we wanted to be able to address that in an interesting and unique way. Enter 2021 excitement about non-fungible tokens and NFTs and creating new ways for creative entrepreneurs, for builders, for makers, pretty much anyone who has a company to engage in this new marketplace. And the metaverse is expected to be worth about $1.5 trillion by 2025. So our goal is to help businesses and creatives figure out how to engage in this new marketplace.
Ira, that's so exciting. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to want to come back because I'm going to want to unpack a bit some
Yeah.
of the terms that you use, non-fungible tokens, blockchain technology. I think for a lot of our viewers, that's going to be really interesting because there are opportunities, as you described, in each of these new technologies that are opening up the way, not only the way in which we viewed our relationships, but the way in which we transact. Both in the real world and what you described as a metaverse. So thank you for that, Ira. I'm going to come back to
Thank
you and
you.
ask some more substantive questions about what you do. Next, we have Vivian Bettis. Vivian, I'll tell you, first of all, I'd love for you to introduce yourself, and I'm so excited to start getting into the substance, but please, Vivian, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. This is wonderful, and I'm very honored and pleased to be part of this roundtable. So I'd like to give you a little background of who I am. So basically, my name is Vivian Gutman Perez, and I'm a co-partner of H Energy Solutions, and we're located in Stratford, Connecticut. And we are dedicated to the conservation of energy efficiency. And so I started in energy efficiency in the 1980s. And I've experienced energy efficiency personally, and I'm committed now to teaching, implementing, and protecting those benefits for everybody. So what does that mean is, so I have a company, and I have 11 guys on the field every single day providing energy efficiency services throughout the state of Connecticut. And so we help people all over the Connecticut, helping them with upgrades for HVAC, for upgrades with windows, upgrades in insulation. We're making people's homes safer, and we're making them warmer or cooler, depending on what season you're in. And we're helping a lot of the people in the state who have lost their jobs and they can't, afford their bills, to make their bills cheaper. So, and what we're doing is, it's called reducing the energy burden. And so we're committed to that as well. And then I have myself and my partner and 2 other people in our office who support the 11 people that are on the field. So, and we've been doing this for about 12 years already. And we are approved vendors with Eversource and with UI.
Vivian, thank you so much. I'm going to want to come back to you as well, because, as we start thinking about not only how we preserve and conserve energy, but also how we use energy in new and creative ways.
Right.
I know that there is so much that you're thinking about as an entrepreneur, but also as a thought leader in these spaces. So I'm going to want to come back and pick your brain about some of what you're seeing out in the field of energy conservation, but also efficiency. Carla, next we have Carla Sachente. Welcome, Carla. Why don't you introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your business, and then we can go from there.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me here. I'm super excited about being in this chat with you guys. So I own Doggy Style Salon. We're located in Manchester, Connecticut. We've only been open since January, so not too long. But what really inspired me to open my own business was just having worked at corporate and private salons the last 9 years, and really just taking the positive aspects of both those places and wanting to create my own ideal working environment and bring my own vision to life, and creating a luxury high-end pet grooming salon for your dog that people just smile when they walk in, and it feels like a salon, and everything is open and airy and beautiful in here. So people just smile when they come in, and people walk by my windows and see the dogs on the tables getting groomed, and the dogs are roaming around and they're happy. So that's really what makes me keep going every day. I really love what I do.
Thank you, Carla. I'm going to want to come back because what's interesting is that journey, that path of becoming your own boss and building your own brand and business. We have viewers that are watching for different reasons, but I think one of the biggest questions that people have when they think about the notion of entrepreneurship or going out on their own is, what is that spark? When is that moment, or what is that idea? What is that drive that led you to really explore the area of entrepreneurship and business that you're engaged in now? Ira, this is an emerging field. It's an exciting field, but there are a lot of things that we don't know yet, a lot of things that we're developing, a lot of new. So Ira, if you could tell us, what was your spark as a business person for you to think, you know what, this is a space in which I want to engage and create?
Well, I'll tell you, Steve, my background is digital preservation, libraries, museums, so it's cultural preservation. And when I really got excited was at the beginning, around about a year ago in 2021, we had some crazy sales of artworks, and that really excited me. We had the Beeple sale. It was the largest sale of a digital piece of art in the amount of, I believe it was over $69 million. And folks began to become curious as to, what do you mean I can now sell art and make crazy amounts of money? I mean, you're right. This is the wild, wild west. And so not all of these sorts of experiences apply to all people. But what's beautiful is to experience all of the amazing and talented individuals that I've been able to come in contact with. And we've been doing a podcast, a weekly podcast now for over 55, 56 weeks. So what you know here is you go to YouTube and you check out Black Tech Futures Media. We have interviewed people who provided us with a variety of use cases around how these different experiences, related to utility in your art or utility in your products and your brands, and how those things can be useful, especially for small businesses who are seeking ways to actually potentially even compete with some of these larger social media and communication media houses. So you got things like Facebook, but we now can create our own brand ecosystems. And so I want to help businesses understand what exactly that means. And I think that, again, this being the Wild Wild West, I'm inspired by many of the artworks I've seen. I'm inspired by the amazing and talented creative individuals who are in the space. And that really is the thing that draws me, particularly as an artist, as a creator, and as a small business owner. I just really kind of want to evangelize and spread the gospel around blockchain technology. We are in the information age, after all. And so, again, for me, a lot of these things came together, and it just made sense that digital communication obviously is necessary. We've got to be able to do it at a distance, and 2020 actually proved that. So for me, that's really what it is: the people, the technology, and just it's the time. We've got to do it.
Ira, what's really powerful, that image that you evoke, the image of the Wild West.
Yeah.
One thing that was striking about the movement of peoples and the interaction between peoples, the exchange between peoples that happens when people move from one space to another, right?
Yeah.
It's both transactional, but it's
Mm,
also an opportunity to create something new. And
that's
what's
right.
really remarkable for me about blockchain technology is that it allows you to do it in safe spaces so that your
Mm,
transactions are secured, your transactions are safe. That opens up a world of possibilities in both business and art for creatives. So it just seems to me that what you're discovering, you are perhaps discovering every single day new ways in which this technology can be engaged. Is that right?
absolutely. That is really what we're doing. And also onboarding people, helping folks get their digital wallets, helping folks actually get something in the wallet by offering them a proof of attendance NFT. And so they can create and keep that experience, and for themselves actually learn ways that they can implement this kind of technology for their own businesses and for their own brands. So very excited.
Ira, it's really funny, Vivian, because as I think about the work of blockchain and about energy, right?
Mm,
And just a tight how it is also revolutionizing the way we look at energy, the need for energy. And then I
Mhm.
think about your work, which seems like lifelong work in energy conservation. How is it that we capture, preserve, and move energy in new and interesting ways so that we can keep transacting in the creative ways that Ira describes? Vivian, tell us a little bit about what motivated you in the creation of your business to think about energy conservation and what the implications might be as we move into this brave new world of knowing that energy is really what connects all of us.
You're right, energy. And it's very interesting when you were talking to Ira about moving from space to space. I mean, it's the same thing that we kind of do. And the pandemic, what it changed the way and how we live, because we were working at home instead of going into the office. So we were using our home much more intensely than we've ever used it. So and now, you know, the landscape is ever changing. So right now, I'm only going to talk about Connecticut because this is where I conduct my business, but you're looking at high oil prices, you're looking at high gas prices. So there's a big push right now in the state of Connecticut is to start electrifying. And then there's new technologies, which is called heat pump technology. And then this way we can stop using fossil fuel, because we want to get away from fossil fuels. And And so exactly what you're telling, and then we have LEDs. So the most interesting thing that I find in Connecticut is that we don't have the same type of calamities that a lot of people throughout the whole entire United States has. So we have a very old stock of homes here in Connecticut. And so, and the philosophy and how homes were built in the last 50, 70, 80 years has changed. So for us, as us working in home energy solutions, it's very interesting because we're helping people convert their homes into more energy efficient places to live. And it's very simple. And we do it, by doing insulation, by changing LEDs, by, offering, a roadmap towards energy efficiency, and helping people come up with a map so that they can do it over a few years time. And so, and then now we're starting to offer solar panels, and we're working hand in hand with a lot of solar companies. So I'm watching, that the whole entire electrical grid is being decentralized. So that's a very interesting concept to me. So I've been very passionate about energy efficiency for many, many years. I remember when I was born in Connecticut, grew up in Connecticut. My father was always a small businessman, and he had a restaurant, he had a diner in Stamford, Connecticut. And so that's when the first CFLs came out. So CFLs, compact fluorescent light bulb. And so they were touting that, the CFLs would save 70, 80% over the incandescents. I don't know if you've ever been in a diner, they have hundreds of lights. And, they have all the recessed lights. The CFL was not a CFL, it was a CFL. And so I collected all of the rebates from all my father's neighbors, and I bought them all, and I changed out all the lights in the diner for him. And he didn't believe me what I was doing, but I said, this is going to work. This is going to work. And then lo and behold, a month later, his bill was reduced substantially. He couldn't believe it. So I was hooked. And so that was in the 80s. And so now we've really gone a long way. So now we have LED technology. So it's amazing all the stuff that we do. And when you really think about it, 20 years ago, maybe you had one laptop and one telephone, or maybe you shared a desktop with your whole family. But just think about all the different electric that we use today and how much we depend on it. And when you look at the state of Connecticut and the consumption, and the total consumption, it's almost flatlined. So that's really what you want to see. So although there's more demand for electric, we're conserving. So that it's flatlined. So that's very interesting as well.
That's really powerful, Vivian, because one of the things that we learned early on when we were kids in school was that energy is neither created nor destroyed. But what we have seen is that sometimes if we aren't mindful about conserving energy, if we aren't mindful about really preserving, right, the environment in which we live, that same energy can convert to harmfulness, not only to our immediate environment, but to the surrounding environment, and also wastefulness. So I think the work of energy conservation is so critically important for every community, because in every single community, there is an aspect of energy reliance, right, that can be very costly unless we intervene in the ways that you're describing.
Right. I mean, the way that I look at it, energy efficiency is a form of financial freedom. And the less you spend on your energy bills, the more you can spend on other things. And the best energy is the saved energy. So I've been doing that for years. So I'm all in.
I love that. I love that idea of freedom, because, in some ways, Ira, what you described, that freedom of people being able to transact together in safe spaces, and that freedom of being able to liberate yourself from the costs, from the burdens, but also open up opportunities that really energy movement really provide, It's so exciting. And, you know, for those who may be watching, these are career opportunities that you're describing. This is the future that you're describing in terms of commerce and transaction. So, so it is inspirational to think of it that way. Carla, one thing that I know for sure is that when you love an animal, when you have an animal that is in your family, the very first thing that you think about is the care of your animal. So tell us a little bit about what inspired you to becoming a professional in the space, right? Which I think is a very special space, to becoming an owner and a business owner in that space. What was that trajectory of inspiration?
So I've been grooming for 9 years now. This is my ninth year grooming. This has been the only job I've ever had. And I started off from not knowing anything to being very good. And I grew within the corporate company that I was in. I started from the bottom, worked my way up to management, and then finally decided that I needed a change, and I left that job and I went to a private salon, and I was just able to see the positive and negative qualities of working at both those types of environments. And I just knew that I needed something else that was going to work for me the way that I wanted to work and the environment that I wanted to work in. So that's truly what inspired me, was just taking both the positive qualities, knowing the negative qualities, and creating my own ideal environment that I wanted. And I knew exactly what I wanted, and I was able to do that. And I'm so grateful I was able to do that and create exactly what I wanted, just for myself and for my employees that I have, and for the pets that come here, and the customers love this. So I'm just so grateful that I'm able to do this, and I'm building relationships every day with new clients, and it's just great.
You know, you remind me, Carla, that entrepreneurs create jobs. You're not just creating opportunities for yourself, but you're creating opportunities for others. You know, and I want to start with you in terms of it can't always have been easy, right? You've probably faced some roadblocks along the way, some challenges along the way that you've been able to supersede as a business person, supersede as a person who's teaching yourself as you go. So tell us a little bit about some of those challenges and what they've meant for you as a person who is developing a business.
Yeah, so I definitely did face some challenges, especially in the beginning of this whole journey. Right down from finding a space to rent. It was a challenge just being taken seriously in general. Just from speaking with landlords and realtors, trying to find different spaces, going to look at the spaces, getting contracts, even down to dealing with some aspects with the town and getting permits. It was very time consuming, more time consuming than I thought. And I was put behind quite a bit, like months behind. So I definitely learned a lot, and it was very challenging in the beginning, just like I said, getting the space, getting up and running, renovations, hiring people to do renovations, doing some renovations myself. So it was a challenge, and I'm glad that I'm here now and I was able to get through it.
That's great, Carla. Thank you. Ira, one thing that strikes me about Carla's journey, right? The challenges that go from becoming a person who is inspired by the job they do and falls in love with the job they do, to becoming a business owner. I'm reminded of something that you said as you were introducing yourself. You started your career in library science. So tell us a little bit about that, about the transition from being in the space of library science, which to me is a sacred space, to where you are now.
I would say that, so for about 10 years, I worked at Cornell University Library as a librarian, and I had the opportunity to explore as an entrepreneur in that space. Having worked on a project for about 6 years, I was able to get grant funding for, and as well execute for over 6 years, and we work with historically Black college and university librarians, helping them digitize their founding documents. So for me, I've been a small business owner here in Connecticut for about 8 years, and my focus has been management, strategic management consulting. And so, particularly when we think about this IT space, I think for me, it's a natural pivot to look at digital preservation was extremely, new and sort of a wild, wild west when we started in the early, what was it, 2000, and I guess it was six. And so being in that space, understanding what the issues are around institutions and cultural preservation, I think have helped me sort of think about these future trends and how they can be impactful for small business and also institutions today. And so, our challenges have primarily been around funding, startup funding, but we were very fortunate to get access to some startup funding with a small family foundation last summer. And so, you know, coming from one place, which is institutions and academic institutions at the Ivy League level, to this space, it's realizing I'm having to wear all the hats. It's realizing I'm having to do all of the things at a very high level all the time. And I'm happy that that experience prepared me for this one. But, small businesses, it is a big challenge for us to think about starting our businesses, pivoting our businesses, and especially operating them during COVID. We are still in a pandemic, even though things are seemingly going back to normal, right? So it's all challenging, but we can do it. Here we are.
I love that, Ira.
Yeah.
Vivian, one thing that strikes me, I think from what both Ira and Carla have spoken to, is that journey, that lifelong journey that you begin in one way, but are always evolving as a person, as a practitioner, as a business person. Tell us a little bit about your evolution. I know that you've been doing this work now for a few years, and it's something that means a lot to you. And how have you seen the evolution, not only of your industry, but also of your own work and your own energy in the space?
Well, I mean, so I started, I'm partners with my brother-in-law, so we're a small family business, and we started officially providing the home energy solution services around 12 years ago in 2009. And the services have evolved over the last 12 years. And exactly like what Ira and Carla says is that we've had starts and stops, especially during COVID. We were shut down for 3 months from March to June, that we were not allowed to enter into people's homes. So during that time, I kept most of my employees. And during that time, we took that opportunity to do more training. And so, we did Zoom, and exactly what you're saying, that how to figure out how to use Zoom. So the first few meetings, people were on their sofas, nobody was really sitting up, and we had to kind of figure out a whole bunch of things. But we are a small family. Mostly everybody, anybody who basically has started with me stays with me. So I don't let anybody go. And so, so I take it very seriously that I've been building a family environment with everybody. I've watched a lot of my, technicians, a lot of my employees get married, have children, buy homes, have girlfriends, all different stages of life. So it's been a wonderful ride for the last 12 years. And we're very lucky. I feel very blessed and lucky to be in this type of work that I do, because ultimately most of the people, it's a happy job that we get to do, that we call people and say we can help you, and that's what we do every single day. So it's wonderful.
One thing that we really simmer on in the state of Connecticut, I think, is that we are a small business state. We are a state that is driven by that engine that is small
Yeah.
business. And you just described it, I think, really perfectly, right? It's the family wrapping itself around the business. It's the
Mhm.
community, Ira, that you mentioned, wrapping itself around the business. And Carla, I can imagine that you have a community not only of practitioners, but I bet a community of people that have been supporting you and help lift you up along the way as well. So tell us a little bit about why that's been important to you, Carla, especially for those who may be watching who are thinking of starting their own business.
Yeah, so it's been really great. I've had so much support from just family, friends, people that really believe in me, and support from this community. Like right here in Manchester, it's been unbelievable just in this area that I'm located in. A lot of people have noticed, they've seen my business when I had all the windows boarded up, and we were here every night doing construction, and people are like, I've watched you since this month and now you guys are open and I'm so happy for you, and my friend lives down the street and I've told them about you. And it's a big network, which is great. People bring in their dogs, and more people will come and say, oh, my friend that I know came here and referred me to you. And that's the best feeling. That's the best I could hope for, is just people talking to people in the community and really wanting to support a small business that just went up in their neighborhood, rather than going to a big like corporate place that they could easily go to. They would rather come here. They like the feel of this better, and they feel like they're doing something good by supporting me.
That's really powerful. Thank you for that, Carla. That, I mean, that you hit it on the head, which is a small business is very different from a corporate infrastructure because you are also woven and part of community, which I think is so incredibly important. And Ira, you mentioned earlier the community that you're building, right, around the notion of being able to transact creatively and optimistically in as many ways as we can possibly imagine. So, tell us a little bit about some of the exciting things that you have seen in your space as you develop some of this technology.
I would say locally, what I've seen, which is really exciting, is when we started having this conversation in early 2021, it was shortly after the lockdown that we started our podcast. And some of those conversations and interviews are with artists who are from Hartford, who are Hartford artists, people who are from Connecticut. And this is something that has been really important to us. We're working in the artist community, encouraging people to consider new ways and new business models for selling artwork, music, and other objects that are culturally, this is our cultural heritage, right? So everything, even from personal artworks or personal collections to institutional collections. And what we actually are sitting on today is, I would say right now, 5 artists who are well known in our area here, particularly Hartford, Greater Hartford area, who are in key roles in various positions around the city, who are art professional working artists who are actually dropping their own non-fungible tokens, their own art NFTs, and who are actually selling them on marketplaces. And so there are people who are working artists in Hartford who are actually creating digital artworks and selling them in marketplaces in this Web3 space on the blockchain. That is so exciting. And even more so than that, what I'm excited about is seeing all of the people who I've met around the state, people who are coming from Watertown, people who are coming from New Haven, people who actually, a gentleman came who's from Germany. He's a Congolese gentleman, and he grew up in Germany. He happened to be in Connecticut 2 weeks ago visiting friends, and he actually found our Blockchain Sundays meetup online at Eventbrite, and he came through. And so it's just amazing and beautiful, all of the folks and creative people we've met, startup creators, business owners, artists, musicians, people around the state who are excited about blockchain technology. And I simply want folks to know that this is happening. This is awesome, and it's happening right here in our backyard. And then to the south of us in Stamford, we've got, it's what people may not know, it's cryptocurrency capital, if you will. There are really amazing companies moving into Connecticut who are establishing businesses who are very, very high up and very influential in the cryptocurrency space. And so please do become aware that all of this is happening right here in the state, and people are very excited about it.
That's
And
really,
so,
that
and
is really,
obviously, so am I. Yeah.
and so am I, because all of that creativity that you're describing, those
Mhm.
liberating spaces
Yeah.
that really people are taking advantage of, whether they are artists, musicians. But what's really powerful to me, Ira, is that while what you're describing is our virtual agreements in some ways, or agreements that are created in virtual spaces, there are implications in the real world. One of the things that you do is you do a lot of your transacting, you do a lot of your coming together at a place right here in Hartford that we know and love called Semilla. And there are places like it in different
Yeah.
parts of Connecticut that are popping up, actual world places where people
Mhm.
are coming to share ideas about virtual spaces and opportunities. To me, that is really, really exciting because it's connecting those two worlds. That's, I think, an innovation that is a long time coming.
Absolutely. And my ultimate goal is for the state of Connecticut and for Louisiana, actually, because I own property there, blockchain education, because we have to actually be able to create and compete going into our future. And 2025 at $1.5 trillion is not far away. So I'm just excited to help folks get engaged and get involved and watch a lot of the growth that's actually happening locally as well.
That's wonderful. And from what you describe as preservation, part of your work is also preservation of
Mhm.
ideas, preservation of value, to conservation, Vivian. I'm really interested in the educational aspects of, Ira was talking about education, the future of industry in this state. How do we teach young people? What do we teach so that they feel engaged in these spaces? Tell us a little bit about what you feel we need to be learning about your industry, about conservation, and should we be teaching young people to really have a view and a mind for the work that you do?
Sure. So are you asking about about employment opportunity, or you're asking about how to connect with young children and about energy efficiency and making energy efficiency cool?
Let's do
So,
that one first, and then we'll talk about employment opportunities. So firstly, how do we connect with young people and get them excited about the work that you do?
well, I mean, I think so. It's a very interesting time right now. The utilities, because of COVID, the utilities had a learning center in North Haven that they closed down. And so what they decided to do was go out for to pivot. And what they did is that they made a mobile van. So it's this huge trailer that has now it's interactive, and it's interactive, and it teaches children all the interesting things about energy efficiency. So, and I know that they're just rolling out this week. So that's exactly what we're starting to do, is teach young children that it's really cool to conserve energy and how to become more energy efficient. And actually, I've been working with this organization called Mad Science, and they even put together a show for enrichment programs for after school called Be an Energy Star. So, and I think it's very cute how they did a play on the word Energy Star. So that's one aspect of what we do. And then the other aspect is, how do we get people to be interested in becoming employees or to go into energy efficiency? There's a lot of opportunity in all different ways, from solar, being a solar installer, becoming what's called a HES Tech. They have schools, it's called BPI, which is Building Performing Institute, that for extra learning. A lot of colleges now are giving green training. So there's, like I said, heat pump technology, and then there's LED technology. We're doing a lot of LED conversion throughout the state of Connecticut. So when Ira talks about the wild, wild west, it's very reminiscent to me, because that's what I used to call, when I first got into the whole thing, this was like the wild, wild west, because every single time you turn around, there's something new and exciting that's happening. And so we're just adding more and more stuff to our tool chest every single day. And so it's a wonderful place to be. So
Thank you, Vivian. You know, we're going to be including the links to your businesses in some of the promoting that we'll do of this conversation, because it's important, I think, that we learn more about what our businesses are doing here in the state of Connecticut, how you're innovating, but also how you are sparking ideas for that productivity of the future. And that's so incredibly important, because as young people watch and think, you know, well, maybe I don't want to follow a traditional path in my educational trajectory, but I do want to learn how to do some of these great things in conservation. I do want to engage in some of these more creative ways of understanding. And you know what? I may want to start my own business in a service industry where, you know, in something that I really care about and something that I love. So Carla, as you think about how your future in this industry, you've just started your own business. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now in this industry and with your business in this community? What would you like to see 5 years from now? I think Carla may have frozen. There you go, Carla. So I was just asking if you could unmute, you know, as you see yourself and you see the trajectory of your business, right, that you just started, you're at the beginning of your business. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now, not only as a business person, but also as a member of the community in which you're serving?
Right. So my hope and dream is I would love to open up at least one or two more salons, not in Manchester, but in different towns, and employ more people that are interested in this type of trade, because it's not a very common trade, but it's really rewarding and fun, in my opinion. We've had a lot of interest, just like people coming in to ask us about pricing or what we do here. And I can see that some people have an interest, and they ask, how did you get into this? And how do you do this? And do you like this? And they'll tell their kids about it, or their siblings or their parents about it. And I can see it definitely sparks an interest. So if I can be a part of helping someone else start this trade and training them, which I've done before in the past as a manager at one of the corporate salons I was at, I've trained 6 to 7 people into grooming. So I enjoyed doing that. I enjoyed teaching people. So if I could, you know, build up my own company and give people that education and use this trade to help them, that would be the best I could hope for.
Thank you, Carla. You know, one of the things that is remarkable to me about entrepreneurs is the way in which entrepreneurs give back. And it's striking to me that each of you seems not only like a person who is interested in pursuing your passion, but also passing it down and leaving a legacy of the work that you care about so much. You have to care about something a lot to take risks, and especially to take risks when it has to do with resource and when it has to do with your precious time. So I think each of you is an example of that. Each of you is an inspiration. Talking about businesses like yours that are mission driven in a lot of ways, right? Whether it's service, whether it's creativity, and really creating new spaces for people to come together and transact, but also doing something as simple as perhaps saving the environment and creating energy efficiency for all, right? Saving resources. I think that's really, really powerful. And I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us today and for proving that point that entrepreneurs are really the future of the state. And entrepreneurship and small business is really what's going to create the most opportunity, I think, for us as a state. And I want to thank each and every one of you for being with us today. We're going to be including your links in our presentation today so that people can get to know a little bit more about you and so that you can continue to share the wonderful work that you do. Thank you.